Gem 1, I had to create a game in 48 hours using copyright-free assets and an art pack provided, which is Kenny's 1-bit pack. It's retro style with some classic sprites like cards and chess, along with this drawing being completed at a time, all guided me towards Tetris. The Suisse as the main concept, here known as Wizard, the idea of some kind of Hololive house rumble came into mind, so conjuring Tetris blocks to kill was the main mechanic. I can't use the word Tetris, so the name of the game was inspired by
Tetra Ho,
which gave birth to Tetra Ho. The character sprites provided aren't really in a top-down view, so I chose some tiles with sort of a 3D effect to form the walls. First thing was to make Wizard be able to move around. Then I put together an eye block and hooked it up with some code so that it appears when the player clicks. I had to study how Tetris blocks are rotated and went with the super rotation system, but how I implemented it was quite retarded. I made the rest of the blocks and used 7-back randomization to form the Tetris cube. Every time a block is summoned, its position is tracked in the game world, so it can check for adjacent blocks to form a 2x3 rectangle. If they do, the blocks are marked and will be destroyed at the end of the check, killing any units trapped inside of it. The reason why blocks are marked before destruction is to enable larger solves like 3x3 and so on. 2x3 is just the minimum area required for a solve. Next, I made the first enemy, Duck, which will just chase the player until it gets close enough to perform a scratch attack. Wizard can dash to escape or apply pressure, as it also has a knockback to push enemies away or into a summons. I put together a HUD so the player knows their health, dash cooldown and Tetris Q. I needed more enemies, so Yakuza gunners are next. Just put a bunch of circles to make the aim trace and bang bang. This will also be Coco's main attack, so it should be strong enough to destroy Wizard's blocks, forcing them to move or put up more blocks as cover. I continued building the tutorial level, then made a duck house that spawns more ducks because they're so weak, just like Subaru's foreigner fanbase. Even with the gunners, Wizard's strongest play is to physically separate herself from her enemies using blocks as a barrier, so I implemented a rival, the Blockmancer, who uses the same system to summon garbage blocks which will bypass those defenses. Main enemies are done, so I moved on to making a speech bubble to explain the controls, a simple health pickup, and a jet of flame that will instantly kill the player but can be shielded by blocks. At this point in time, I also searched for CC0 music and sound effects. Because of the assets and the Tetris theme, which feels quite retro and 80s, I look for electro and synthwave genres, so players will think that this is all some deliberate stylistic art choice. Wow, so cool. I also made Wizard's hat and crown lootable, which are her objectives in this game. Alright, great progress! How much time have I spent? 40 hours? What's that? Beautify the level? Add lights, glow, animation, particle effects? No! I need a boss in this game, and that's Coco, here known as Queen. Watch this, watch this. Watch this elite programming skill. Just highlight the code from Duck, copy it, and bam! Copy the code from Gunner, boom! Haha! Boss logic is done. It's so bad, but time and tide wait for no man. I also made a short cutscene when the player enters the boss area using the speech bubble system I programmed earlier. With 6 hours left, I was extremely stressed, so I played Peace and Tranquility in the background. The showdown with the Queen was boring, so I made her teleport when she gets hit, and added 2 scripted events when her health is low to spawn some gunners and flames. Now, I have the tutorial level and the boss level, but I need one more level in between. So I winged it and made a level that has some puzzles, then randomized the spawn point for the hat, which is what the wizard needs to find in order to progress to the next level. Finally, with almost no time left, I made the title screen out of the sprites provided in the asset pack, and a plain ass end screen. So the jam is over, and out of 682 entries, Tetra Ho is ranked 100 overall, not too shabby. If you want to play it, just go to Railkill's itch.io page, link in the description, but you need to be familiar with Tetris and action games or you're going to have a bad time. This game project in its entirety is open source and copyright free, licensed under CC0 public domain, so anyone can do anything to it freely. The future of Tetra Ho would be to have a sprite replacement pack, so that the game can actually look more like Hololive. This means it doesn't need to be pixel art, and the Godot game engine is superb for this type of modability. Tetra Ho will still use Kenny's 1-bit pack as the base, as it is unable to incorporate Hololive sprites directly because of CC0. Hence, the Hololive sprites need to be made as a separate package, like a mod, because it is a derivative work. But before that, I think the current codebase is a terrible and buggy mess due to the game jam time constraint. So redesigning and refactoring should come first, followed by polishing of the base game. Finally, it should have Amane Kanata, followed by co-op and versus multiplayer. Only then Tetra Ho can be considered complete under my original vision for the game as a Hololive House Rumble, which I think is a reasonable scope.